Turbo Wizard. Hello everybody, welcome back to a brand new episode of Business Blaze with me, Simon, my trusty space heater who is wearing the finest merch of all. Indeed, these arrived yesterday. This is the absolutely epic smash the dislike button t-shirt. I can say that because I didn't design it. Some Business Blaze viewer, you could design this. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name right. It's Austrian or German, I guess. I apologize, but I f***ing love the t-shirt, and so does E.T. Tuck your shirt in, man, come on. There you go, looking good.
This isn't what I was designed for, Simon.
Shut the f*** up and do your job. Where can you get this merch? Purchthemerch.co.
Now I feel naked. Help.
Welcome back. You might be wondering, what the f*** is going on? My name is Simon. Danny writes us a script. I'm gonna read said script and react to it a little bit. Danny sent me an email and he was like, Simon, you asked me to do one about facts that aren't true. Was it supposed to be about business? And I was like, Danny, the channel's called Business Blaze. And he's like, well, I didn't make it about business. So here we are. For all of you who've tuned into business, all 4 of you, smash that dislike button because I don't think we're getting much business today. Anyway, this may sound a bit extreme, but I've long been of the opinion that the education system is a complete and utter waste of everybody's time. Danny, I have 2 degrees and I kind of agree with you.
I won't need my high school diploma anymore. I am the smart. I am the smart.
I'll never forget the day that I stuck my hand up in maths class and politely asked whether when I'd ever be likely able to blah blah blah. I'll never forget the day that I stuck my hands up in maths class and politely asked when I'd ever be likely to make use of the enforced study of trigonometry in my adult future. It's true. It's like, when was the last time you looked at a building and were like, wow, yeah, I really need to know the height of that, like, right now. Also, I think my iPhone can now do that. You just point it at things and it measures how big things are. It's awesome. This might sound like I was trying to be a smartass, but I honestly wasn't. It was a genuine question from a young and inquiring mind. I wanted to know how my classmates and I were going to benefit from absorbing all of this complicated, mind-numbing shit. But I phrased it very respectfully. I'd just be like, why? Why are we learning this shit right now? I even remember how you remember the, you know, the sine, cos, tan, so, car, toa, and then you do the things with the, I don't remember how, it doesn't matter. Another one that I liked making like fun of, and I think I've made fun of before in Business Blaze, was like, is it differential equations where you have like 2 equations on each side and you have to make them into 1 equation? And I'm like, why? In response, the teacher told me to not be so impertinent and sent me to stand at the back of the class for the rest of the lesson. Inquiring minds are shut down. It was around this time that I really started to fall out with school and stopped bothering to turn up. Oh no. I don't think I ever, I don't know if you Americans call it skiving off school. Or bunking off school. I don't think I really ever fully bunked off school for like a full day. I definitely bunked off some classes where it was like, I'm just not gonna show up to that one and see what happens. Very rarely would anything happen, but if you didn't show up to school at all, your parents are gonna get a phone call and that's gonna be uncomfortable. Unless your parents don't care about you, in which case, great. And within the space of a year, I was expelled and eventually sent off to a residential school for problem children where a generally good-natured and well-behaved youth like myself was forced to mingle with glue sniffers and kids who'd set fire to their parents. Danny, I don't know if this is true or not. If it is, that's intense. It's like, no, I just asked why we're doing trigonometry and now I've got a drug problem. And I've set my parents on fire. This proved to be a bad decision for the education authorities, but that's a story for another day. I'm already excited. But my main point is that schools may as well be knocked down and turned into theme parks or anything. I'm a 33-year-old man. I love theme parks. Like, I don't like many child things. Like, I'm not into child things. Like, I haven't seen any of those animated movies that everyone's seen, like Frozen, Shrek, any of that. I mean, I haven't seen many movies, but I have no desire to see this. And I have a very young child now, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to see all these movies. But I am very much looking forward to going to Disney World. At least our heads, what are we talking about today? I'm so confused. At least our heads might not be quite so full of knowledge of stuff that we never needed to learn and establish facts that turn out to be complete bollocks. Anyway, caveman lived in caves. Oh, let's play a game. Like, I would say I've got a pretty decent general knowledge because I make so many videos about so much stuff. Thousands of videos. Let's see how many of these I know as being false. Also, I had a go at Danny so many times about using the same font for the header as he used for the subheads, and now I've got, like, cursive magic font. I did think that cavemen lived in caves. There we go. Because of all the cave paintings and A popular perception of the cavemen is that they were simple, brutish creatures who only ventured out of their cozy cave dwellings for a bit of hunting. Except on Saturday nights, obviously, when they dress up in their fanciest furs, go out on the pool, which usually involves finding a nice cave woman, clubbing her to the ground, and dragging her back to the cave to get married. Holy shit. Yeah, the past was bad.
I did not hit her. It's not true. It's bullshit. I did not hit her. I did not. Oh, hi, Mark.
But mankind's long journey from dirty old cave to high-rise skyscraper isn't quite as clear-cut as we may have thought, and cave people are likely to have been far more civilized and intelligent than we ever gave them credit, and maybe less rapey then. Of course it's true that archaeologists have unearthed countless evidence of human remains and gnawed bones and animal skins within caves decorated with early examples of human art on the walls, but that's not to say that all cave people lived permanently in caves. It's simply that the remains and artifacts of the people who happen to be dwelling in caves at their time of death are the only examples left to be unearthed. Oh, that makes sense. I mean, there's not going to be enough caves for everyone, is there? I mean, when was the last time you were like, oh yeah, there's a cave? Like, f***ing never. I think the last time I saw a cave was when I specifically went to see a cave. It's not like you're just walking through the forest and you're like, oh look, caves. It now seems more likely that the so-called cave people lived more of a nomadic existence, and the caves are only ever a very temporary, seasonal home. Anthropologists and archaeologists now believe that Paleolithic man would move around from place to place, creating temporary shelters and makeshift tents from animal hides stretched over bone. Is Paleolithic man the same people that all those people who eat the paleo diet are? Because those people piss me off. Like, oh my god, I don't have a problem with you being on a diet, but it's like, do you have to tell everyone? It's like, oh, I'm paleo. I'm really into just eating the flesh of raw animals because, well, that's how our Paleolithic ancestors ate. And I'm like, yeah, but they also died at like 30, if they were lucky. It's like, are you sure you want to be mimicking their diet? Because you know who lives forever? Us. I mean, comparatively, we live to like 80. You know what we eat? Fuck KFC. To be fair, I have no idea what I'm talking about, but I don't care either, so don't use the comments. Smash that dislike button. ETA, I'm gonna dress you up again.
Thank you.
I'm sorry we had a fight.
No problem, homeboy.
I'm not gonna put you in the basement.
I love you.
Yeah, I love you too. Good. They were quite clever too, capable of cooking up a nice meal, crafting simple but effective tools, weaving cloth, and even carving figurines from bones, clay, and antlers. Those geniuses. And although the feminist movement was still quite a few million years away, it seems million years? I don't know. My knowledge of ancient history is not very good. It seems very unlikely that the courtship ritual involved clubbing a woman over the head. Naturally, the elements have long since destroyed any evidence of the majority of the people living out in the wild, which is why we tend to associate early man so closely with the caves in which relatively few protected remains have been found. But the caves were really more like a Stone Age version of today's bus shelter that you hide under when it starts pouring down with rain. I really hope millions of years from now we don't end up getting labeled the bus shelter people. Ba-da-bum-bum. We only use 10% of our brains. I do know this is clearly false. And that movie with Scarlett Johansson was a big perpetrator of that. And it was a good movie. The one where she becomes a robot or something because she can use all of her brain. But because I know this fact, I'm like, oh, but it's not true, we use all our brain already. I've always found this theory quite interesting. If we only ever use 10% of our human brains, imagine the kind of things we can do when we discover how to unlock the other 90%. Yeah, we'll become amazing. We'll turn into like futuristic robots with like black, I don't know, whatever was coming, like slime or nanites or whatever that movie. Okay, maybe that movie wasn't as good as I thought. I might even figure out how to open one of those stupid cartons of milk without spilling half of the contents over the worktop. It's a theory often wrongly attributed to the great Albert Einstein, and more on him later. Oh, we're gonna debunk the one about him failing maths. I can already sense it, and I already know that one. But it's more likely, spoiler alert, but it's more likely to have gained traction from the studies of a couple of Harvard psychologists from the 1890s who seemed convinced that mankind was currently only meeting a fraction of our glorious potential. I mean, Jesus Christ, we better be, because look at us. We're not very good, are we? Last year, 2019, I'd be like, not bad, we kind of got our shit together, and then 2020 is like, hey guys. No, you don't. Fuck 2020, right? It's actually quite disappointing to discover that it's not true, despite the fact that over a century later, the claim still pops up in popular culture and marketing campaigns. This is as good as it gets for mankind. The milk carton is going to give me grief until the grave. Oh no, Danny. It is like weird, isn't it? Because you know those movies where, like the Scarlett Johansson one and every other one where it's like, he unlocked the 80%, the 90% of his brain that was hidden from the rest of us, and he became a turbo wizard. It's like, guys, you didn't even Google to see whether this is like even a thing. It's like, come on.
You know how they say that we can only access 20% of our brain?
It's bullshit.
Part of the problem in unpicking this myth is that much of the human brain is still wrapped in mystery. But the brain, my brain, is wrapped in a skull. But brain imaging research shows conclusively that even though we're not using our brains all the time, and by the way, we shouldn't be doing that anyway as it would lead to a seizure, we still just use about all of our brain at different points throughout a typical day. Okay, and it's worth bearing in mind that pretty much no part of the brain can be damaged without resulting in serious loss of abilities. This obviously wouldn't be the case if 90% of the brain was even getting used in the first place. Yeah, there'd be all those people who shot themselves in the head and were just totally fine. So your brain's neurons are firing on all cylinders. Have another go at that fiendish crossword and just try shaking your head around a bit this time. Ba-da-bum-bum, this doesn't deserve one. However, I'm not going to put it on because then I have to rewire my lav mic and all of that shit. Oh, hold on, I'm coming back.
Please don't.
Check this out. I don't remember who designed this. I didn't plan to show this in the video today. ETA, do you want to wear 2 t-shirts?
No.
Oh, sexy. Beautiful. You're looking good, ETA.
I know. Watch this.
You can see the Great Wall of China from space. Oh my god, This one I also know because I just made a video about the Great Wall of China. And you can't see it from space. Spoiler alert. The weird thing about this myth is that it seems to originate from long before the days of space travel. So it wasn't as if anyone could confirm it, one way or the other. One of the earliest recorded claims came from English antiquarian and clergyman William Stuckley in 1754, who noted in a letter that it was possible to see the Great Wall of China from the planet Mars. Dude, what are you talking about? What are you smoking? He might as well have claimed that it was possible to see the Skegness clock tower from the bowels of hell, but his claims went largely unchallenged for centuries. What was with the past? They were just like, okay, let's just not try things and believe everything.
I can see
There's no denying that the Great Wall of China is pretty big and pretty long. It runs for over 1,500 miles, which is approximately 1,410 more miles of wall than Donald Trump has ever got around to build. He really only built 90 miles. You can see how long the border with Mexico is. It's really long. It's longer than 90 miles. 90 miles is like a short journey. It's a 2-hour car journey. It takes like 2 weeks to drive across America. Come on, Trump, get to it. Not that I actually think this is a good idea. Don't get any ideas, Trumpies. People are also in the comments, Simon, it's not funny when you make fun of Trump. And I'm like, I just straight up disagree. And it's not like I'm making jokes. Dude, he's the one making the jokes. Look at him. But it's also a pretty colorless construction, which naturally blends into the surrounding landscape and would start getting fairly tricky to make out properly, even in a hot air balloon ride. Unless you're using a massive magnification lens. It's impossible to spot the Great Wall of China from space, even at the lowest possible orbit. However, there are a few man-made structures that you really can spot from space. Wow, really? For example, you can see the cooling ponds around the Chernobyl nuclear power plant, a greenhouse complex in the Spanish province of Almira. I think that's where like most of Europe's fruits come from. And the Bingham Canyon mine near Salt Lake City, Utah, and a big McDonald's sign, arches in the town of Rotherham, or however the you say it, in the UK. That last one is a goddamn lie. The Great Wall of China may stand a better chance of being spotted from the stars if the entire length of the wall was decorated in flashing reindeer-shaped Christmas lights, but at the time of writing, such a venture is yet to be attempted. Get the f*** on it, China. Why haven't you done that yet? You build all these like fake towns, spend some effort making your Great Wall of China greater. Make the Great Wall of China great again. It's dangerous to wake a sleepwalker. Danny, I know all of these. This one is also a lie. I think I actually specifically made a video about this very subject. I have to admit that I've never come across a sleepwalker in my life, and I've always assumed that it was an incredibly rare condition which a few people witness outside the comic potential of the TV screen. I have sleptwalked twice in my life, once when I was a teenager, once when I was a kid. I remember both instances vividly because it was like, why am I somewhere else now? And that was all. Maybe I was wrong though. In a study conducted by the Neurology Journal in 2012, 3.6% of adults claimed to sleepwalk every year. That's about 8.4 million American citizens in total. The same report also claims that 30% of adults in the US have sleptwalked at least once in their life. I find that quite hard to believe. It's either complete bollocks, or it's just a US thing, or people are getting really confused between sleepwalking and getting home drunk from the pub. Yeah. The other times it's like, wow, I made it home? Fuck, great. That's different to sleepwalking. Either way, it's often been claimed that it would be utterly disastrous to try and wake a sleepwalker. The actual reasons are a little fuzzy, depending on who you're talking to. You might be told that the sleepwalker will have a heart attack, suffer brain damage, or lose their soul to a Sandman. Is this really a thing? Like, I know it is because I made a video about it before, but when I made that video, I was surprised that people actually thought this was a thing. I'd never heard of it before. You probably should be at least a little careful when tackling a sleepwalker at the top of a flight of stairs, simply because they'll find it quite disorientating to suddenly wake up in such an unusual situation and may act a little unpredictably, by falling down the stairs and, dying. It often takes me a few seconds to figure out who I am and where I am after a deep sleep, and I imagine this process would be a little more complicated if I was to ever wake up and find myself wandering around a haunted wine cellar. That got desperately specific. I don't find, like, when I wake up in the morning, I'm like, okay, I know what's going on. But when I take a nap in the day and then I wake up, it's always like, where the fuck am I? But aside from a little disorientation, the sleepwalker is bound to be better off in the long term if you intervene before they take that fatal first step down the long flight of stairs. And we can largely blame comedy movies for helping to perpetuate the myth that waking a sleepwalker is dangerous. Have I seen any of these movies? I mean, probably not. It is me we're talking about. This is often just a handy plot device which allows characters to stand back and panic and watch a sleepwalker going through an increasingly perilous or farcical motions without ever feeling the need to do the decent thing and wake them up. Has that ever been a plot thing in a movie? I don't know what movie that is. It sounds pretty weak, to be honest. Like, look, I know business plays comedy, but it's also like, really? Oh wow, look at that sleepwalker, that's hilarious. Einstein failed maths, I knew it. Whenever a student receives a disappointing grade, there's usually some smart aleck parent or teacher on hand to provide the encouraging small crumb of hope. Never mind, even Einstein failed maths on his first attempt. I am gonna enjoy this so much. Like, when, like I mentioned already, I got a small kid. When that kid is old enough to go to school and there's like parent-teacher night, and they'll be like, well, young kid has been doing really well. And then you hit, because of course they would, because they're a genius. And then over on the other table, you're like, well, don't worry, little Timmy's parents. Little Timmy has been failing maths, but so did Einstein. And I'll just be like, no, he didn't. He did really well. You're an idiot. And I won't have any friends. It would of course be quite interesting if one of the most celebrated scientists of the 20th century really did make a complete hash of his maths exam. And it's also been suggested that Albert Einstein suffered from dyslexia, struggled with speech and emotional control, was prone to throwing violent tantrums as a youngster, and was generally less developed than his peers. That's all lies. Albert Einstein was awesome and has always been awesome. And yeah, he's a genius and you're not. But according to Einstein biographers Ronald W. Clark and Abraham Pace, there's not a shred of evidence to suggest that any of this is remotely true. In fact, Einstein's grades were nearly always top of the class. The closest we can get to a young Einstein failure is when he struggled with the entrance exams for prestigious polytechnic school in Zurich, Switzerland. He passed some of the exams with flying colors, including physics and maths, but had trouble with language, botany, and zoology. And the important thing here is not because he's dumb, it's because he doesn't care. It would be like someone examining me on Lord of the Rings movies and judging my intelligence based off my knowledge of Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or any of that other shit that I don't like. And they'd be like, you're so dumb, you don't know what a Gandalf is. And I'd be like, yeah, because I don't care. You don't know how to like compile two equations together. And it's like, no, I don't, because I don't care. I'm 99% confident that I could learn it because it doesn't seem that complicated, does it? Look, if a 16-year-old can manage it, 33-year-old Simon is going to be able to apply his reasonable size brain to this problem. But give young Einstein a break. At the age of 16, he was 2 years younger than all the other applicants on that too. And he smashed it when he returned the following year, still by far the youngest of the applicants and very much head and shoulders above the rest of his age group. Yeah, I failed in my first year of university. I failed quantitative techniques, which is like maths for economics, really badly because I never went to the lectures and I was like, oh, f it, whatever. Showed up to the exam and I was like, oh god, I definitely have to retake this. And then I spent some time studying in the summer and then I came back and I got a A because when I apply myself, I can get it done.
Good brains.
So why do so many people believe that Einstein had a slow start at school? Well, there's one theory which has nothing to do with relativity, but it is almost as interesting. During Einstein's final years at school, the grading system was completely reversed, so that 6 suddenly became the highest possible grade instead of the worst possible grade. It's quite feasible that years later, some bright spark looked back at Einstein's perfect grades without taking this change into account and wrongly assumed that one year had come bottom in everything he'd taken. If Einstein did ever display any behavioral problems at school, it was probably more to do with his hatred of the institution rather than any academic failings. According to the biographers, Einstein was never keen on the school's expected mindless obedience and discipline aimed at instilling authoritarian civic virtues. He also hated merging equations together and didn't like trigonometry. That last bit I made up, but I'm with you, Albert. Bulls hate the color red. Danny, I know this one. I realize I will ask Danny to try and surprise me with facts that, you know, I don't actually know are false, but that's a really tall order these days, because I'm a genius.
Great head.
Bulls hate the color red. It's widely believed that the reason matadors specifically wave a red cape or maleta at the bull in the ring is because the color red makes the bull angry. I have a Spanish friend, and he was telling me all about the matadors, a bullfighting thing, and it's way crazier than you think. Like, I thought they just released this bull in this pit. There's a dude with a red flag, and in the end he stabs it with some sort of weird ass knife. But dude, the crazy thing is there's this dude called the picador, and they have this bull in this pen, and the picador's job is to stick little knives into the bull to rile him up before he goes out and fights the matador. And I'm like, what? This seems really cruel. I mean, fighting and killing the animal is cruel, but at least when he's in the ring with you, you know, fair game. But if you're sticking little knives in him ahead of time, it's like, what the f, guys? Get your together, Spain. Hashtag cancel Simon. Hashtag don't be a racist. In fact, bulls are colorblind, so they're very unlikely to care about the matador's choice of cloth. It's simply the rapid movements of the muleta which are attracting the beast's attention. And there are numerous other reasons why the charging bull is generally having quite a grumpy day, not least the fact that it's being constantly tormented, tortured, and stabbed with sharp instruments. It seems that matadors like to keep this myth burning, which is the only reason why they still go with capes that are usually red on one side and either gold or blue on the other side. But it's an odd choice, really. If the bullfighter ever found himself in a spot of bother with the bull, it would be quite difficult for anyone to notice all his red blood violently spurting out onto the cape. On the plus side, after the bullfighter has been buried, the cape could probably be used again after just a quick low temperature washing cycle. Dark. Also, my Spanish friend told me that bullfighters in Spain are like rock stars. And I thought this was really strange because I'd be like, I don't know, what traditional English sport? I don't know, what's the English equivalent of bullfighting? We definitely don't have one. But let's just say anything, any randomly specific British sport. No one knows these people. No one cares. But in Spain, they're like rock stars. High earners pay more tax on their total income. Well, that's not a myth, is it? Hang on, what does that mean? High earners pay more tax on their total income. It must be percentage-wise. He must mean percentage-wise because, I don't know, if I make more money, I definitely pay more tax. It's not like, hey, Simon, guess what? You made less money this year, so we're gonna tax you more. In fact, you're gonna be in debt. Let's find out what the Danny's going on about. Maybe it's one I don't know. To conclude on a very vaguely business-related note, oh yeah, this is supposed to be about business. Welcome to Business Place. Smash that dislike button. Here's something which many of you may think is blindingly obvious, particularly if you're in the highest tax bracket and you know exactly how it works. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I know how this works. I mean, it's not that complicated. It's perhaps not so much a lie, more a misassumption from everyone else, which is sometimes not exactly quashed by those who are complaining about getting taxed at the top whack. Here in the UK, Danny's in the UK. I don't live in the UK, so this isn't my tax system, but I'm familiar with it because my family are British, my friends are British.
I'm British, and that makes me unique. At least I think so when I hear you speak.
Here in the UK, you get pushed into the high tax bracket of 40% when you start earning more than £50,000 a year. This rises to an eye-watering 45% when you start earning more than £150,000 a year. I think it's actually higher than that because you have to pay national insurance and which I believe, isn't it above 50% for the highest earners? I thought it was above 50% if you're over 150,000 a year. But I think I'm getting what Danny's getting at here. Because people have this, maybe they have this misassumption that if you make $151,000 a year, then you're taxed 45% on everything. You're not. You're just taxed 45% on the 1,000 over, and everything else is taxed at 40%, and then below 50, it's taxed at whatever that rate is. People don't know this. I guess they don't. Things don't seem quite so pocket draining in the US, where you can earn up to $510,000 a year, a 35% tax rate. I know plenty of people in the higher tax brackets who view their situations very differently. Some of them are perfectly happy to make sizable tax contribution from their sky-high salaries. But others like to complain about it. One gripe I've heard more times than I can remember is that people feel as if they're being punished for working hard and moving up the ladder, only to find themselves in a position where nearly half of their total earnings are grabbed by the greedy taxman. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Complaining about taxes is, like, of course, part of life. I've also heard suggestions that some people would be better off if they didn't receive a small pay rise, which would push them into a higher tax bracket, as they would end up taking less money home overall after being squeezed more tightly for tax. No, it's not true, because you're only taxed at a higher rate when you for the money that's over the jump. But neither of these suggestions is quite true, because there's one important fact that a lot of people don't seem to grasp. The higher tax bracket only comes into effect for any money earned over that threshold. In other words, everyone pays exactly the same relatively low tax for the first 50,000 earned here in the UK. It's like 20% or something, right? So when my mate who earns 60 grand moans that a year moans that he's giving 40% of it to the taxman, what he actually means is he's paying exactly the same as everyone else for the first 50 grand of it, and just pays the higher tax on that extra 10 grand. So either your friend is like, has a complete lack of knowledge about his own finances, or he's lying to you because he's like, oh yeah, no, it's rough. I gotta give 40% away, so overall I'm actually making less than you. It's like, yeah, except you're not, are you? And of course, this marginal tax rate system makes it very unlikely that you'll ever be put in a position where taking a pay rise could leave less money in your own pocket. I believe there is, at least in the UK, because I know people who've complained about this, once you get to a certain point, it's like they also, in the UK, your first like 12 grand or something is tax-free. But I think once you get over a certain, I'm not an accountant, so I don't know anything about this really, but just what I've heard, is that once you get over a certain amount, they start getting rid of that. So if you make like, I don't know, 100 grand. If you make 101 grand, then you lose that 1 grand of your tax-free allowance at the beginning. So I think there is a point where it does not make sense to work unless you can make a bigger leap. So the next time you're offered a pay rise, use it with both hands. And the next time someone in the highest tax bracket starts grumbling about how much tax they fork out, just tell them to quit their jibber jabber.
No, it's not true. Don't even ask.
Bonus fake facts. It's still repeatedly claimed that a goldfish has a memory lasting just 30 seconds or even just 3 seconds. In fact, it's long been proven that goldfish have a memory span of at least 3 months, and it can even be taught to learn routines and complete underwater obstacle courses. Number 2. I've included this one as a bonus entry because I find it hard to comprehend that anyone would believe this fake fact in the first place. According to a YouGov poll from 2015, over 41% of surveyed Americans believe that humans and dinosaurs coexisted on the planet at the same time. It's all the crazy religious people. Smash that dislike button, but you're idiots. 41%! Just in case there's any doubt about this one, I have it on good authority that there was about 60 million years between dinosaur extinction and the rise of mankind. Of course there was.
The Earth is 6,000 years old. Praise be.
It's possible, and even if you think, oh yeah, it was a few years, you at least know it was a few years. It's possible that religion may play a small part in the survey result. Digging deeper into the stats, over 51% of the participants described themselves as born again, revealed that they believed humans and dinosaurs were happily mooching about together at the same time, and this confusion may have something to do with the fact that the dinosaurs had all their scenes cut out of the Bible.
That's a laser raptor. I thought they went extinct thousands of years ago. What year is this?
It's the Viking Age.
That explains the laser raptor.
Either that or Fred Flintstone has a lot to answer for. Number 3. For the final completely fresh bonus fact, it still repeatedly claims that a goldfish memory lasts just 30 seconds or even just 3 seconds. In fact, it's long been proven that goldfish have a memory. It's just a repeat, because it's a joke about memory. Ba-da-bum-bum. This has been Business Blaze. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button. If you didn't, smash that dislike button. And as always, I'll see you next time. Purchthemerch.co for cocaine.
This isn't what I was designed for, Simon.